Hi, my name is Rob Chilly and today we're going to make our first contribution using the shared development or inner source model. You may notice that this title in the slide behind me has a typo. So in the spirit of shared development, instead of just pointing that out to the author, what we're going to do is we're going to try and fix it for them. Okay, let's go to GitHub. So if you've not made a contribution before, the first thing that is important to check is that you're a member of the all-flutter-global team. So if we're here in the Flutter Global organization, if we go into teams here, lots of different teams here. You can see the all-flutter-global team is right here. We need to check that we're a member of that. There's quite a lot of people in it. So the easiest way to do that is to use a little shortcut at the top here. And what we can do is we can just say @ and our own GitHub username. So for me, I'm on the training account at the moment. So it's FSC Trainer. And you can see this training account is part of all Flutter Global and is a maintainer in a different team as well. Okay, that just checks that we're part of that all Flutter Global team. And it's important to be part of that team because that's the team that gives us write access to a bunch of different repositories. And we're going to need that because we're going to need write access to create and push branches and things like that in a bit. Okay, back to repositories. So first things first, we need to actually find the repository that we want to contribute to. Now, in all probability, this contribution is not happening in a vacuum and you've probably got a link or something like that. But in this case, we're going to take a blind guess that it's a training repo of some sort. This is certainly not elastic training. So let's just guess it's this one. Looks about right. Yes. Okay. So here we found the repo that we want to contribute to. We know roughly what we want to contribute, but we want to know now how to do it. And there's a simple golden rule behind how you do this contribution. And essentially that is you follow the instructions and the wishes of whoever the maintainer and owner is for this repository. And the way that the maintainers and owners of this repository will communicate that to you is they will write this markdown file here in each repository that is called contributing in capital letters. So if we pop into there, here we go, we should see, right, okay, here is some notes on how to contribute. So this is a fairly standard contribution guide. It's got a little bit about this is roughly what the code looks like. Here's some hints about how you might actually practically make that contribution, and it essentially asks you to follow what's known as the GitHub Flow. So if you're not sure what the GitHub Flow is, then you should Google it. If I just do this, I can just pop across. So if you end up Googling GitHub Flow, you end up with some GitHub guides, and they'll walk you through it. But we'll just take a quick spin. So for a contribution using GitHub Flow, what you do is you'd start in the default branch, and you'd say, okay, I can't commit directly into here because this is the kind of key release branch, if you like. So what I need to do is I need to create a branch myself so that I've got my own space. Once you've got your own space, you're free to push in your commits and do as much work as you want. And then when you feel like, okay, actually, I think it's now time for my work to go back into the main branch, you need to open what's called a pull request. And the pull request is simply a way of saying, can I have a code review? I want this code to go back in the main branch now. There's usually followed by some sort of discussion and review of the code, etc. If there's a CI pipeline, it should run on your branch to make sure that those changes are absolutely fine. And then once everyone's happy, merge it back in and the work is done. Okay. So that's essentially what this contribution guide is suggesting we do. So that is what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is pop back up here. We're going to go back into the main repo. and we're just going to step through the steps we need to do to make this contribution. So the first thing we need to do is find what we're going to do. So if we pop into here, I think it's this one, the first contribution guide, and we scroll down a bit. Yeah, there we go, missing you. Ooh, missing you between those two. So you can use whatever method you want to run through this. I'm just going to use the UI today, the GitHub UI, because it's a very simple change. I'm just going to use things like these little edit buttons here. But there's no reason you can't use command line, git clone, git-b to create your branches, push the changes up, use your own IDE, all that sort of thing. And obviously you would be doing that for a more complicated contribution. This one's dead simple. So I'm in main now, so I shouldn't be able to commit directly to main. So I've still got this edit button, which is odd. So if I scroll down, you can see, all right, you can't commit to main because it's a protected branch. Excellent. GitHub's given me a shortcut to run through creating a new branch and do that sort of thing. I'm not going to use that shortcut in this case because what I want to do is I want to make sure that we understand it and we're going to run through it from first principles. So we're going to pop back here. First thing we need to do is create a branch. So up here, fix typo. So there you go. Now you can see we're in a new branch. This is my own space now, so I can do whatever I like safely. So I'm going to pop in here. Now I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to take a wild stab at putting a U there. I'm going to jump down to the bottom. I'm going to say, right, I fixed that. Take a typo, commit directly in there. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So you can see now if I come back to the main bit of the repository, it's noticed that I've created a branch and done a push. So it sort of thinks, oh, you'd probably like to do a pull request soon. So it's given me a shortcut. I can either use that shortcut or at any point I can go to pull requests on this repo. I can say I want a new pull request. My base branch is going to be main. It might be master if your default branch is called master, or it might be a release branch. That sort of stuff is what will be in the contribution guide. Where I want to get it from is I want to get it from my custom branch over here. Oops. What's that? Okay. And then I create a pull request. Give it a sensible title. Fix contribution deck title. Hi. I noticed a typo and thought you would appreciate a fix. Oops. Okay. So we're going to create that pull request. And there we go. We've done our fix. We've pushed in our pull request. Now, what needs to happen next is, let's scroll down and have a little look. Okay. So because main is a protected branch, we can't just merge this in ourselves, and a code review is required. Now, in this case, you can see it's already, it knows who owns the code, and it's requested their review. So it's this maintainers, capture documentation, and you can see Rob Chuley, Column, and JP are members of that. Yeah. Okay. So they'll get a notification. They should probably pop up soon. If they don't, it's probably time to ping them. Yeah. And say, oh, I raised this pull request, etc., etc. And that's it, really. Now, let's just go and have a quick look over here. So the reason that automatic review comes in, because we've got this code owners file, and you can see the code owners are specified here. If a repository doesn't have that, then what we might need to do is we might need to figure out who to add as reviewers ourselves. But like I said, this is not happening in a vacuum, so you're probably in a Slack conversation with someone, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm here as my alter ego. You see I'm here as Rob Tuley up here. So I've got a notification now, so if I just pop into my notifications, I've got a little notification about that pull request and that the training account raised. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop in and have a look. Okay. Okay. So notice typo, thought appreciate fix. Oh, excellent. Let's have a little look and just check it. Okay, that makes total sense. Just added a U there. Very simple. Okay, so I'm going to review the changes up here. It opens this box, you see. So I'm going to say, great. Thanks. I'm going to approve them and submit my review. Okay. So now the training account has put in that pull request. Myself as the code owner has picked up that pull request via a notification. Now I might miss that notification, so often if you're going to push pull request in, if you're not in a conversation already, it can be a good idea to ping someone on Slack or something like that. I've reviewed it. I've approved it. If I was unsure, I might add other reviewers, or we might engage in a long discussion here about some stuff. But in this case, that's not needed. So I'm just simply going to merge it in now. Okay. So you'll notice down here, there's a few different ways of merging in. So you can create a merge commit. You can squash all the commits in this branch together and make a single commit into your main, or you can rebase, so you can kind of replay the commits back into main. So there's only a single commit in this one. These are good for different things, and you might not have all these options because depending on how people want to run their repos, they might have turned some of them off. But in this case, what we'll do is we'll just squash it down to one commit, which it is already. We'll reference it. That's absolutely fine. Merge it in, and then it is done. Now you'll see that the branch gets deleted here. This is again a configuration. If that's not configured to automatically delete the branch, if you don't need the branch anymore, it makes sense to go and clean up and delete that branch. You can do that by going up here and view all branches, and then go and clean up what you want to do. But you can see, there you go. There's my contribution that's made into fix the typo data that's got merged in. Okay, and there's the latest commit that's gone in there. Congratulations, you made your contribution. So let's just summarize what we did there. We checked that we're a member of the all-flutter-global group, because that's the important group that gives us right access to a bunch of the repos we probably want to contribute to. We went to find the repo. Struck a bit lucky there, to be honest. We found a contributing markdown guide, and we followed the instructions in that guide. And then we kept communicating with the maintainers and owners and those folk who kind of manage the repository, and we ended up being a contributor. Fabulous. Okay, that seemed very easy, and that's because it is, but there are often some hurdles that you might come across in reality, because reality is often a little bit more messy than a demo. So here's some typical problems. So the first typical problem: can't find the repo, or don't know the repo that I'm trying to go to. Now, in real life, you're probably having a conversation with someone about this. They can probably point you in the right direction. There is another way of navigating the product structure, which is probably worth me showing because it also highlights how you might find out some names. The other problem you might run into is there's no contributing guide, in which case, or you've got no write access. So both are possible. So if you've got no write access, you won't be able to create a branch. If you've got no write access, don't fork. In an open source sort of model, you obviously wouldn't have write access to the repo. So what you generally do is fork the repo into your own GitHub space and then do a cross repository pull request back. Don't do that here because we don't want lots of forks of these repositories, and we certainly don't want forks outside the Flutter Global organization. In all these cases, really, you probably need to talk to a human. And that's fine because there's multiple ways of finding a human. But I'll show you one of the easier ones. Nope. I like that. Let's try again. Okay. Right. So we want to find a human for something. We're not really sure of the repo. There's a few different problems that we're trying to address here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to the rule check repo, because in the rule check repo is a handy, which gets updated every hour, I think. And there's a handy, it's going to have the README. There's a nice link in the README to structure.md, which is generated every hour in one of the branches. And this gives you a way of navigating through the product hierarchy and looking at the different repositories. So in this case, what we're going to say is, okay, well, let's say we didn't know where this training repo was. So we're going to say, well, it's going to be one of these products. Okay, probably product shared code base. That would make sense. Okay. Now, I should fix that dependabot problem, shouldn't I? That's just popped up there, I think. So here, what's interesting is you suddenly starting to see some names, which is good. So this is a set of names of people that you can reach out to on Slack or by email. Now, the slight awkwardness is these links and these names are GitHub links. So if I go here, you can see quite obviously this is me, right? I put my name here, etc., etc. Yeah, this is why we encourage people to put names on their profiles. But so you might click one of these links and it might be really non-obvious who that person is, in which case it might be quite tricky sometimes to find people on Slack. So you might just need to try someone else. But anyway, this gives you lists of names of people to talk to about this repository. But in this case, we're simply in the capability layer, and we probably, in the product layer, we literally just want to drop down, start navigating through this tree. So is it going to be automation or is it going to be documentation? Documentation, I think. So let's keep going. Okay, so here the actual repository. So there's rules of the road repository, and there's the FSC training repository. Here's the GitHub URL. Right, here I found my repository. So not only did I find my repository there, but also I found a bunch of names on the way through to help me. Another way of finding out who, if you've actually found the repository but you've not got write access, you don't know who to talk to, and if there's no contributing guide, if there is a code owners file, you can jump into the code owners file. The code owner should tell you which team. So in which case we can see it's this team. So if we copy that, go back to Flutter Global, go to teams, search for this team. Oh, I think it's because I copied the out of the front. No, it doesn't like that at all. There you go, that team. Go into this team. I guess you could start a discussion here. We don't really use discussions in this team very much, but you could start a discussion here. But I guess more importantly, you've got a list of names that you can go and find. So sometimes finding names for a repository can be a bit of a kind of puzzle. but usually you've got some sort of conversation going already. There's usually a reason behind why you want to make your contribution. Okay. Okay. So that was it. I'm Rob Chilly, so by all means ping me direct on Slack or come join us in the Shared Codebase channel to find out more, and I wish you the best of luck making your millionth or your first contribution.